Good afternoon. This is the beginning of many videos that you'll have access to in the computer applications class. What I'm going to do is take you through some initial things that I want you to understand and know about Word. This is for the first chapter of Word, and we'll have 3 chapters that we end up doing in full. You're going to need to take some notes, and I've provided you with a note-taking sheet, and you'll also need to have a Word document open on the computer so that you can do what I'm doing. Let me repeat that because it's extremely important. Everything I do on the computer, you're going to need to do on your Word document so that you have the same finished product that I have, okay? So first thing I'm going to have you do is make sure that you've got notes that look like this. They should say Word 1 notes. We're going to go over those little by little, and you will fill them in. The second thing I'm going to have you do is open up a Word document so that you're ready. So individuals and businesses create flyers to gain public attention, and that's an important piece. You guys are going to see lots of flyers as you walk the halls of Rockbridge. Flyers are usually just 1 page long. They're inexpensive, and they're a good way to get the word out about whatever you're trying to do, but many flyers go unnoticed because they're designed poorly. In this unit, we're going to focus on how you would want to create, format, and edit a flyer that has a picture on it, so what kinds of things you'd want to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type adventure in our headline and hit enter. In Word, when we're typing, and almost always when I'm having you, when I'm grading your documents, you'll need to have your formatting marks turned on, and this is a formatting mark. When you click it, you'll notice that you have some a different symbol that pops up. It does not show up, so right now I've got my formatting marks on, and it tells me, I can see when I've hit an enter, so anytime I see that, I've hit an enter. If I were to space, like I am right now, you'll see a series of dots. If I were to tab, you'll see an arrow, okay? So it's sort of the behind the scenes view of what's happening, but you'll notice that if I were to go and print, nothing shows up. So formatting marks are invisible when you're printing. So go to your notes and let's look at what are formatting marks. It's a character that Word displays on the screen, but it's not visible on the printed document, and it looks like a backward capital P whenever you hit the enter button. But that's how you'll know that the formatting marks are turned on. Okay. And you can always pause if I'm moving a little quicker. There's no reason for you to just let it keep playing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and after adventure, we're going to hit enter twice so that you've got this extra blank line. And the reason for that is we're going to insert a picture there. So at this point, we're just creating the space to do that. Now, I want to show you something. You can zoom out, and it's helpful to do that when you're really trying to pay attention to formatting. There's a couple of ways you can zoom. You can do it down here with the plus, right, or the minus. You can also go to view, and you can zoom out there. Oops. And you can change your percentages. But if you wanted to just make sure that you zoom out to the point where the document, the width of the page matches the width of the window, you could just hit page width and it'll zoom it out. If you look down here, I'm at 114%. So I wanted to show you guys that. All right, so now we're on our 3rd line of the text, and we're going to type explore eccentric, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading, scenic trails with breathtaking views as you travel through meadows, forests, streams, and mountains in an off-road vehicle. Okay. Go ahead and hit enter. And it's time for me to talk to you about spelling and grammar check. You guys, I'm sure, know quite a bit about it already. But let's go ahead and talk about the red, the green, and the blue wavy lines. Red wavy line means that the word that you have typed is not in Word's dictionary. So you can ignore it, you can add it, or you can change it. The green wavy line means that you've typed perhaps a grammatically incorrect something, either a sentence or something's grammatically incorrect. And the blue wavy line indicates that a word may have a spelling error. The blue and the red can be difficult. Sometimes they pop up as red, and because it's not something that shows up in their document. So you just have to pay attention to those. So the next thing we're going to type is self-guided tours. And we want to put a hyphen in between. And this time I'm going to ask you to, misspell it and hit enter. I'm sorry, hit spacebar. And you'll see that the red wavy line pops up. Now, the reason I had you do that, and you probably already know about this, you would right click and you can see that there are some other options that pop up, including ignore or add to dictionary. So if it's going to be a word, my last name generally is one that throws off the computer, so I can add that to the dictionary since I'm probably going to be typing my last name regularly. So we'll choose tours. All right, so let's finish this up. Available. Open March through October. All vehicles and gear provided. To book your adventure, call, oops, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our notes. And there are some things that I need you to know, because we've just typed them up and I want to make sure that you're clear. What is a headline in the flyer? Well, the headline is the very first line of the text on the flyer, which conveys the product or service that's being offered and the benefit of using that. So on the flyer that we just did, what's our headline? Adventure. We're selling an adventure. You're focusing your audience's attention. So what's the body copy of the flyer? That's the text between the headline and the signature line, which highlights the key points of the message. So if you look at the key points of the message, explore scenic trails, you've got self-guided tours, open March through October, all vehicles and gear provided. That would be your body copy. And then finally, the signature line is a call to action. It's the last line of the text, and it gives information or contact information, or calls the person to make some sort of action. So to book your adventure, call. We're just basically telling them something that they can do. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our notes for just a moment, because now what we've done is we've typed everything in, and now we're going to go back and we're going to format. So what's the difference between paragraph formatting and character formatting. Paragraph formatting is when you change the appearance of an entire paragraph, so you center it or you add bullet points. Whereas character formatting is when you change the appearance of a character. So you change the font or the font size. Okay. When do advanced word users suggest you would format the text? This is a really common mistake students make. It is faster to format after all the text has been entered rather than formatting as you go. What most students do is they enter the word adventure and then they change the format and they make it however they want. And then they enter the next sentence and they format that. And then they do it line by line or sometimes word by word, depending on how that works. But if I have an idea of what you want to get on the paper and then you format, it'll actually save you time because you end up going back and backtracking. Let's see if that's all we need to do. All right, so I think let's go ahead and do one more set of notes. What formatting changes are suggested when you're working with a flyer? In general, these are very general rules. You want to increase the font size and vary font sizes within the document. So basically, you do not want to hang a flyer that has all the same font size. You have to be careful here because if you get too many font sizes, it's too busy and the eye doesn't know what to focus on. Also, you do not want to hang a flyer that has 12-point font or 14-point font. You want something that's readable. The second thing you want to do is have no more than 2 fonts per flyer, and it's easier to read if you do a serif font, and let me show you that. Okay, so I'm showing you a serif. This is a serif font and this is a sans. And sometimes in your fonts you'll have fonts that give you different options. You know, it'll say serif or sans in the font. Basically, sans is just boring. It's your normal letter. Serif has some extensions at the tip, and it is believed that serifs are more easily read. So if you're putting up a flyer that you want someone to read, you'd want to put it in a font that's easy to read. Don't get into those fonts that are difficult to read. And a lot of times students do that because they want to have something that's kind of fun, but they end up hurting themselves in the long run. The third thing you want to do is consider changing the paragraph alignment for some of your paragraphs, right? So don't have everything left aligned, don't have everything centered. Change it up. Center a few things, and then on a few others you can left align. You can highlight key paragraphs using bullet points. You can emphasize important words by using color or italics or bold or underline, and then finally you can use color. It's more expensive in printing, but it creates a better end product. All right, so let's go ahead and work on our document. So we're going to go to Adventure and we're going to center that. All you have to do is, now there's a couple things I want you to know. You don't have to do the click and drag. A lot of people do that. It's just extra time. If you go over into the margin, you see your cursor turns into an arrow. You can click that way and just select entire lines with one click rather than click drag. Also, you can just put your cursor in the middle of something, and if you go to the Home tab and hit center, then it centers the entire thing. Let's go ahead and click on the signature line or click inside the signature line and center that as well. So let's go ahead and select the headline or the adventure, and we're going to do the select this way rather than click and drag. And we're going to increase our font size to 72. I can do that this way and drop down to 72, or I can hit the increase. We'll go ahead and do it this way because it'll be faster. We're going to go ahead and change the font to the Berlin Sans. Remember that your fonts are alphabetical. And we want to do the demi. And while this is not the serif, which is a little bit easier to read, it does have a little bit of the slant, and it's a fun font that definitely portrays sort of an adventure. And then we're going to click on Change Case, which is right up here. It's the capital A, small a. If you click the drop-down box, you can see that you have some options. So you can put everything lowercase, everything uppercase, capitalize each word. We're going to go everything uppercase.
Mom! Mommy!
So the next thing we want to do is to apply a text effect, and Word will provide several text effects, and you can find those right here on text effects and typography. And they add interest, and then they sort of add variety to the text. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and we want to do the white. The white outline, accent 1, glow, accent 1. So that's the option we're going to choose. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to shade a paragraph. And when you shade a paragraph, you're just coloring the rectangle that's behind the text. So click somewhere in the paragraph. So all we have to do is just, again, click. And then we do the bucket for shade. And we want to make it green. Let's see. Accent 6. Here we go. Now let's go back to our notes, because I think I have something I want you guys to know. And we didn't go over this. So when you set a theme for your document, and we haven't done that, but it automatically does it for you. It's over here in the Design tab, and you'll see that there's several different themes out there, and they have sort of a color behind them. And you'll notice what happens is when I click on a theme, my colors change, the background, okay? So let's go back to what is a theme. It's a set of unified formats for fonts, colors, and graphics. So what Word has done is they've said, if you want to be in the blue color scheme, here's some colors and fonts that would match that. If you want to be in the red, here's some colors and fonts and graphics that would match that. So they've done some of the formatting for you ahead of time. That's the purpose of a document theme. The difference between shading and highlighting, and you'll notice this is where you highlight and this is where you shade, is that both will color the rectangular area behind the text, but shading offers more color options. So you'll notice if I hit the drop-down box, I can go to more colors, and I've got every color on the spectrum. If I do highlighting, we'll cancel that. If I do highlighting, I just have those colors, and they're fairly obnoxious, some of them. There are some other differences, but for what we're learning in Word, you don't have to know them. So that's the difference between shading and highlighting. Okay, so we're back over here. And we're going to highlight several lines, which is all of the body copy, and we're going to do it by using our arrow and just click down. We're going to change our font size, and we want to get that up to 24. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to make our paragraph, these three things right here, we want those to be bulleted so that they sort of stand out. Remember that if you make a mistake, you have the undo button up here, which is always nice. All right, so now we're going to click somewhere in the word breathtaking, and we're going to italicize, because we want breathtaking to stand out. There's nothing that would speak adventure more than that, right? We're also going to change the font color. So you can do that up here by clicking on the arrow for the A that's underlined with red. And we want to pick an orange. Let's see. We'll do the orange accent color. So it stands out. And then on the signature line, we want to change that to 28 font size. So we'll go down here, click on that, and go down to 28. And we'll also change that to the same orange color. Once I do it, that's the last number, the last color that I use, so you can just click it. You don't have to do the drop-down box. We want to underline the phone number so that it stands out. So here I will go ahead, click and drag, and underline that. And then we want to bold the word off-road. So I'm clicking in the, put my cursor in the word road, and I hit bold, and cursor in the word off and hit bold as well, or you can click and drag and choose that. Now we want to just look at this at this point. So let's go to the View tab, and we're going to take a look at one page. Now, what you should be noticing is that the adventure, we can go ahead and let's do this. Let's take out the formatting marks. So it looks good, it's easy to read, but it's all bunched up. There's a lot of white space down here, and if you were to put that out, it would be too much. The white space indicates sort of a take a breath, right? So we're going to definitely need to space some things out, and we definitely need to add a picture. Now I want to go back to your notes because I want to add some things for you to know. Color associations, you need to be aware of this. Red is indicative of danger, power, energy, and it's often associated with sports. Brown is indicative of simplicity, honesty, and dependability. Orange is indicative of success, victory, creative, or enthusiasm. Yellow is indicative of sunshine, happiness, hope, liveliness, intelligence. Green, often associated with growth, healthiness, harmony, blooming, money. Blue, connected with integrity, trust, importance, confidence, stability. Purple is a symbol of wealth, power, comfort, extravagance, magic, mystery, spirituality. White is associated with purity, goodness, cleanliness, precision, perfection. Black shows strength, elegance, power, and prestige. And gray is neutral. You'll see a lot of grays in background stuff. So when you're picking, if I were telling you to do a flyer on fire safety, what colors might you use? Well, I would want you probably to think about red, maybe brown, because you know what we're telling them about safety would be dependable information. If I'm telling you about a water slide, then what might you do? Well, you might want to do something with yellow, where they're going to have a lot of happiness. Could also incorporate some red because the water slide would be active. There'd be some activity. If I were having you do a flyer, and you will actually have to do a flyer in the future for a international tour, what colors might you want to choose? And some of that might depend on where you're headed, but if it was just a travel brochure in general, what colors might you use? So start thinking about that now and make some notes in this on the side of where you think you might want to go with colors on that flyer. Okay. So now let's go ahead and go back to our color theme. And we're on the Design tab, and let's go to Colors, and let's go down here to green. All right, now we have right here, you'll see that we have a cursor. We'll go ahead, let's turn on our formatting marks again so we can see what's going on. And let's center that because that's where we're going to be entering our graphic. Okay, so before we actually insert the picture, for this unit you're going to be doing nothing but flyers, and the flyers include pictures. When the flyer includes pictures, I have, unless you're being told to go online to find the picture, which what you would do is go to Insert and click on Online Pictures and then choose something from there. Otherwise, if you're instructed to choose a particular picture, I have all of those in a document which you'll have access to through my website. So those are the pictures that you have. Now, this one we have to, Mountain Trail is the picture we want to insert. So the very first thing you have to do is to save the picture as, and then go to your drive and then just save the picture. So we're going to now you can also copy and paste, but I want you to use the insert key, and I may be checking to see if you've got this saved. So make sure that you have done what I'm asking you to do. Now that I've got that saved, I can go to the Insert, click on Pictures, go to My Drive, and find Mountain Trails, and then insert that. Let's go back to our Word Notes. How do you know where to place a graphic? It should capture the interest of the passerby, enticing them to stop and read it. So it's often at the center of the page, and it's often the largest element on the flyer. Now you'll notice that is not what's happening right now with mine, so we need to make some adjustments. We want to resize our graphic, and so the way that you do that is you pull from the corner and you come out. And we can go ahead and crop so that the bottom portion is out. And we can hit the enter a little bit so we've got a little bit of white space. Now we'll want to see how far we end up going with that because we're going to do a few other things. And while we're here, let's go ahead and go to View and do page width so that we can see the entire thing. All right, now we're going to go to Picture Tools on our Format button. So whenever you're clicked on the picture, Format pops up. If you're clicked somewhere else down here, no Format key. So you have to click on the picture in order for Format to pop up. And when you're there, you go to the drop-down box for pictures, and we want the drop shadow rectangular. So let's see, there it is, drop shadow rectangle picture frame. So we'll go ahead and click that. Kind of gives it a little bit of edge. And then we want to go to the Picture Effects button, and we want to point on Glow. And we want the turquoise 5-point glow. So we'll go all the way over to the right and just do a little bit of glow, which will match up with our colors. Again, that's hooked up with your theme. Now we can go to Picture Effects again, and this time we'll go to Bevel. And we want to angle in the bevel area. Sorry, I lost that. All right, so, and we're going to click on angle. And now we formatted our picture. Go back up here to view and look at one page and see how it looks. All right, so let's go back and do one last piece with our notes. What 3 questions do you ask yourself when you're looking at the flyer as a whole, which is what we're doing? Does the page need a border to frame the contents, or will it make it look too busy? Is the spacing between paragraphs and the graphics adequate? Is anything positioned too closely to one another? And does the flyer have too much space at the top or the bottom? So if we look at this, I think we look decent here. And you can make some changes this way you can lower your font size. This is going to stay the way that it is because we've added that border. I think we could use some extra white space to break up these paragraphs, but I feel like 24 is too much, so let's drop it down to 10. And we may even come back and decide to do even less. Because I had that bulleted point in there, it wouldn't allow it to appropriately adjust. All right, so if we decided we wanted to do a border, which we will do with this one, let's go ahead and click on the Design button. And we can do Page Borders. We're going to click on the second border style. And then we're going to go down to the color and we're going to choose a color that works for us. Let's do Lime Accent 2. So let's see what we've got. Well, there we go, Lime Accent 2. And we want to click on the width and change it to 4.5 point. So we want it to be a thicker border. Click OK. And now you've got something to sort of compare and contrast. I want to show you something else that you can do. You can change spacing before and after. I showed you one way to do it. Another way to do it is to go to Page Layout and you can add space before or after. So if I wanted to add space after, I can increase. And you see how it's getting larger? And then I can decrease. If I wanted to do it before, I can again increase or decrease. So that's another way that you can add space. So there's a lot of white space, more white space down at the bottom than there is at the top. So we could go ahead and I just clicked the auto. I clicked down and it went to auto and it automatically spaced it out, which was helpful. And I think we could go after this and throw that down just a little bit further. So if I take out the formatting marks, I can see how that looks. You can center your page vertically. I like this a lot. So you just go to your Page Layout tab. Then here under Page Setup, you click the drop-down box and you go to Layout. And here in the center where it says vertical alignment, it automatically does it so that it's at the top anytime you're typing, but you can set it so that it centers it. That wasn't a huge adjustment for us, but it is always when you're doing a flyer something that you should do. So now let's look at how we would want to insert some things and change some things around. If we want to put our cursor right before the W in with, and we want to add the word today, as you know that you can automatically do that. Then if you double click the word today, I just double left clicked, let me do that one more time, double left click, and it highlighted automatically, and then I can delete that. There's also drag and drop editing. So let's say we're going to move this last bulleted point, all vehicles and gear, and we're going to make it number 2. So you can click and drag. Oops. There we go. So I highlighted it. Let me do that again. I highlighted it and then took it and drug it down. Except that it's not working for me now. Okay. So with it highlighted, you can move it around. It's easier if you're going up. There you go. Okay. So that's, you can just, the drag and drop is a useful tool as well. All right, now I'm going to have you go ahead and you will have to print this and turn it in, and I want to show you how to do something. So whatever computer you're at, you have to adjust your print so that it will show up and print in our classroom. So you click on File and you click on Print, and you'll have something different that pops up here. What I need you to do is click on that and go down to the bottom and say Add Printer. Go to Columbia, type in RBHS, click Find Now, and then you arrow down until you get to room 331. Now there's 2. You want the one that's LJ 300 400. So then you can click on that, double click, or click it once and hit OK. I don't need to add it, so I'm just going to back out of that, but then that'll change up here where you need to print. It takes a minute, so when it doesn't show right up, don't freak out, because it will eventually show up. All right, that is all that you need to do. You'll need to make a photocopy of your notes so that I can see them, and then you'll need to make a printed version of this flyer so that I can see that as well. Thanks, you guys did great, and you're ready to get started on your flyers.